Welcome to the channel, everybody. My name is acelewy, and welcome to class identity for Nightblade's ESO. Now, a lot of things that occur with Nightblades whenever it's been talked about for PvP is either that they're incredibly busted or they're incredibly, like, bad. You know, oh, if you play a Nightblade, you must be an assassin, you must be a glass cannon, one shot. It's the only way to play the class. It's the only way you do this, you do that. I'm here to dispel that rumor and also dispel any other rumors that typically occur when it comes to your identity for PvP. Now, most classes, truth be told, play very similar to each other. Like the difference between a DK and a Warden and a Necro and a Templar, when you really just walking through it, it's like, oh yeah, this is my major resolve, this is my this is my that. Nightblades are very different. They play pretty significantly different, and part of that is based off of stealth. Part of that is just based off of how the kit operates, because they don't have certain skills that are just dedicated to one thing and one thing only. They often have skills that can do multiple things. But with that being said, that's kind of spoiling a little bit more of what's going to be talked about in the video. Let's just get into the meat and potatoes. Moving into the first passive abilities for the Nightblade, you have Penetration coming in. You got 2,974 whenever you are flanking the target. So this only applies while you're flanking. However, in PvP, this shit is super buggy. Sometimes you don't have to flank them at all. Sometimes you will be flanking them and you don't have this passive kicking in. There's not much we can really say on that. It is what it is when it comes down to it. Just know that it will proc when it feels like doing it, and you get 3k pen. Executioner. This is a really nice passive, because the moment any enemy dies that you recently just damaged within 2 seconds, you're going to restore 1,000 magic and stamina. Now, previously in my DK video, I did showcase that there are certain passives or certain skills that combo very well with other things. This is a great example to just showcase something going on with the destruction staff and destruction experts. Whenever you kill an enemy with destruction staff ability, you're going to restore 3,600 magicka. I bring this up because when you really stop and think about it for a second, I can right now, just by hitting a free skill, like say this skill kills them, like the me proccing the susceptibility on them kills them, like the burning sass effect killed them, right? I'm going to get over 4,000 magicka just for doing that. Nearly 5,000 mag for doing something like that. Now, obviously, not all Nightblades do that. But it is important to just kind of get that in mind. Like, you have ways of restoring magicka very well right now, and also with some skills as well, that like a passive like this is almost overkill. It is almost overkill because there are so many ways for you to get resources back as a Nightblade that I'll be showcasing, you know, very soon in this video. But at the same time, like, this is already letting you know like where the trajectory is going for Nightblades. Pressure points. You get 438 crit chance per assassination ability slotted. So when I'm on my front bar, I get 1,314. That is also the same amount of that's also the same amount that you get from minor savagery, which, as you can just see right here, for hemorrhage, just by me dealing crit damage, I get access to minor savagery, which is another 1,314. If you're wondering how much that percentage is, that's 6%. That's going off the base of 219 is 1%, 3% is 657, and then from 657 you times it by 2, 1,314, then you times it by 2 again, major savagery and prophecy as well. That's going to give you the 12%. Now, it does say 2,629. I don't know why they have an extra number there. I'm pretty sure I said this before, like the extra number doesn't even do anything in the stats that I notice, but it is 12% increase, so just FYI. Also as well, for hemorrhage, it increases your critical damage by 10%. So you're getting 2 passes for crit chance, which crit chance in and of itself is not directly related to damage. It just simply means that you have a higher chance of critting. That means it also applies to heals as well. And there are a lot of times where people are more worried about having higher crit chance, not to deal a lot more damage, but to heal better. I've ran builds and I've seen people run builds where they got the crit chance up high and they're not worried about doing damage. They're worried about healing better. Now obviously, in a more well-rounded builds, which a lot of Nightblades are capable of doing right now, they're really capable of doing damn near anything. Having high crit chance in general is just great for you. I have 12% increased crit chance just from these two passives alone. Oh yeah, I have to proc the other passive, doesn't fucking matter. You're going to use assassination skills. Like on my front bar you can already see I have 3. Consistently people are at least running one of them, and that's Merciless Resolve. And then on the back bar they'll have Phantasmal Escape. And if they don't have Phantasmal Escape, that's perfectly fine. They still get another 6% just for doing crit damage on their front bar. And that carries over to your back bar. And on your back bar, you're not trying to do damage in the first place. So why does it matter if you have an additional 10% crit damage? It just doesn't apply. And that's really, really nice. That right there is a really nice combo for passives. And it only gets better from here, because now we have Refreshing Shadows. This is giving you mag, stam, and health recovery increased by 15%. That is the equivalent of a minor intellect, which you can see right here with Refreshing Path, which gives us minor intellect. So really, as Nightblades, we can get the effects of major intellect by just hitting Refreshing Path. Like, we'll have 30% right there. But then we can still get major intellect. So if you're drinking a potion that gives you major intellect, you're now sitting at 60% increase to your mag recovery. This also applies to your stam as well. And now I do have to come over here to the two-hand, and since we're talking about stam recovery, this is important too, because now you can run the battle rush. You can run two-hand, get a kill, and if you're worried about your stam recovery at all, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Getting another 30% for simply killing a target, you don't have to kill a player. You just have to kill something. Keep in mind, when you kill something, we still have a whole other passive back in the assassination line that is restoring magic and stamina for you. So if I kill somebody with my two-hand active, you don't have to kill them with the two-hand skill, just have it equipped and I get a kill. I'm gonna get 1,000 mag and stam back, while at the same time increasing my stam recovery by another 30%. We was already at 60% for your both mag and stam recovery. Keep that in mind. We like, just off of discussing this one passive, you're literally seeing how people are like, oh, how does that Nightblade sustain so much? How does he do this? How does he do that? How do people get these stats? If you can get your recovery down to just 1k with no percentage increases, and then you run a two-hand, and you do exactly as I just said, you can increase your stamina by nearly 100%. So you'll have 1,900 stam recovery. So imagine if your stam recovery was even higher. Say for instance your stam recovery was pushing 1,500. You nearly have 3,000 stam recovery at that point. So that is how Nightblades are sustaining so well. If you're ever wondering like how the hell they're doing this shit, they can do that. And it's very easy. You know what's crazy too, especially about the stam recovery? You don't have to run Refreshing Path to get access to minor endurance. There's a lot of skills that give out minor endurance, but it's the fact that you can get access to both minor endurance and minor intellect within your own class. And this skill still gives you 2 more buffs and it heals you at the same time. It's very, very powerful. This passive alone is almost busted. Had the Arcanist not come out, Nightblades were literally the best at sustaining until the Arcanist came out. I'm not even joking with you. Keep in mind, this is the class that people think you have to play super stealthily. You can't do anything outside of just be a ganker. And if you more or less pay attention to the rest of these passives, you're going to very much realize that is not how the skills are set up. That's not how the passives are set up. And that's not often how this class is. It still gets the damage, but when you see the rest of this stuff, you're going to understand a little bit more on it. Because Shadow Barrier, your major resolve, this is how Nightblades get major resolve. This is why Nightblades often are running Concealed, Shadowy, Refreshing, Mass Hysteria, or Shadow Image. You're running one of these skills because if you don't, you don't get access to your major resolve. And yes, you can see in it, casting a shadow ability grants it for 6 seconds. But then this duration is increased for each piece of heavy armor equipped. So this game is telling me to run heavy armor. This class is telling me the best way to run my Nightblade, to have a consistent major resolve, is to 1, run one of these skills, and then 2, run heavy armor. You know what's crazy about running heavy armor? It increases your max health. And I'm going to showcase that to y'all right now. Right. You have a passive called Juggernaut. This increases your max health by 2% for each piece of your heavy armor equipped. I'm at 4% right now. That's cool. A lot of people get to 4%. But then on top of that, I have a passive inside the Nightblade that's giving me 3% increase to my max magicka for each shadow ability slotted. Keep in mind, this goes hand in hand with Shadow Barrier. Because think about it. You're going to be activating shadow skills. Well, these shadow skills, hopefully they're good, right? By me having these on and, you know, having potentially multiple, there's more reasons for me to use these skills because I've chosen multiple skills to run with. I'm going to hit these buttons. I have my major resolve up consistently. By me having my major resolve up consistently and having shadow skills on, I'm now increasing my max health. Just off of those 2 passives corresponding together, because I have 2 pieces heavy armor on, with then 2 skills on my front bar increasing my max health, I increase my max health by 10%. That is more or less just a minor toughness coming in. Now yes, there's other classes that get health increases, and they get max resources increases, but not in the way that the Nightblades are doing, and not with the same level of sustain that the Nightblades have. Don't worry, it gets worse. Dark Veil is not that bad. It just increased the duration of your non-invisible based shadow abilities by 2%. So I'm pretty sure that affects the stun. Yeah, it's like 4.7. This isn't even it fully leveled up. I think it's supposed to be 5 seconds when it's fully leveled up. Still, you know, this also includes shadow image. That's why it's at 22 seconds. Things of that nature, you know. 12 seconds for this, like, that's just how it goes. Honestly, if I'll be honest with you, Dark Veil is one of the few passives that isn't incredibly busted or tied into some other way with the Nightblades that make them incredibly overpowered. They're it's one of the few passives where you're like, you know what? It's not super busted. It honestly, it's just kinda on the same level as other passives in other classes. Where it's just, it works, you're not gonna say no, but there's nothing right home about, you know. And that's the only passive that you're gonna see like that, because going into siphoning, you get to see the dumbest passives possible. When I drink a potion as a Nightblade, you just gain 20 ultimate. Pay attention that that's not there, like there is no cooldown to that. So if you was to decide to be a crazy man and have your potion, say, every 20 seconds, like you run a setup where you're just reducing the cost of it to have it where it's every 20 seconds, you're doing something crazy. You're just constantly getting ultimate that way. But that's not your only way of getting ultimate. You have another passive, Transfer. Gives you 2 ultimate, which isn't a lot, but considering that I can drink a potion and then activate a siphoning ability, and I just got 22 ultimate. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking ultimate to just be getting. That's a lot of ultimate to be fucking getting. Yeah, it's not the most overpowered. Like 2% is not something that you can be like, oh my god, 2%. But having a potion on top of that, yeah, that's a good amount of ultimate. That's a good amount of ultimate. And this occur every 4 seconds. Like, so you get a decent amount of ultimate as a Nightblade. It's not hard to get it. But then you have your other 2 passives, Magic or Flood. This increases your max magicka by 8% just for having the ability slotted. It's not like the other passive where you need to have multiple skills slotted. You just need to have 1 skill slotted and you get 8%. You also have Soul Siphoner, which increases your healing done for each of the siphoning abilities slotted. So by me having a siphoning skill slotted on my front bar, which is Power Extraction, I'm increasing my max mag by 8%. And I'm a Magblade, by the way. And then I have a passive within my shadows that's increasing my max health. And then you have the passive from your heavy armor. That's also increasing your max health. But then you also have another passive from Undaunted that's then increasing your max health. So you have so many ways to increase your max health just off of percentage alone. I have 16%. Once you factor in CP, you factor in the food you run and all that. Is it really a surprise that me as a Nightblade, for my builds, I'm pushing 39k while still having 25,000 magicka? Is it really a surprise at that point? Oh, I have 1.3k mag recovery for just existing. I have nearly 40% crit chance. I have all these amazing things that you will want for your build. And you know what's crazy too? If I really wanted a high resistance, it's not an issue to get it for my build. I choose not high resistance simply off the fact that crit resistance is more important. 9 times out of 10. Because most of the people that have high pen, either they're also a DK, or they have so much pen that it didn't even matter if you had 35k. The motherfuckers had 37k pen. You had 35k resistance, they had 37. A lot of people that stack into that, fuck it, just have the crit resistance, because if they stack that much into their pen, they probably don't got a lot of damage. If you stacked everything that you have into penetration, you're gonna have a bad time overall for PvP. But again, going back to originally why I'm showing you these stats, when people go into PvP and are trying to figure out what they're doing for their class, whenever they go to the Nightblade, they start running into very, very, very old and very bad stereotypes for the Nightblades. Nightblades do not need to be basically just a ganker. You don't have to be this guy that, oh, I can't fight, I can't this, I can't that. Oh yeah, you can be the assassin that you want to be. But if you paid attention to your passives for your Nightblade, you have barely any passives related to damage. Nothing from your siphoning is damage. Nothing from your shadows is damage. You have, what, 2 passives for damage? You have penetration, and you have critical damage. And you get crit chance. So, alright, you have 3 passives for damage. Templars getting like 4-5 for damage. DKs are getting like 4-5 as well for damage across their 15 passives. And I feel like it's like, what, 12? Yeah, something like that passives. Like, come on, bro. Like, let's be honest with ourselves, right? If you have a class like this giving you all these resources sustains, just you get resources here, resources there, you're sustaining this, you're sustaining that, you're getting healing done, you're getting ult gen, you wouldn't even think this is a class for hitting hard. But if you have all these passes for sustain, what makes Nightblades hit hard? Well, it's the skills for the most part, in terms of actually hitting hard, because you have skills like Killer's Blade. Great Execute deals up to 400% more damage based off the enemy's health. If they're underneath 50%, you are going to do more damage. It also heals you if the enemy dies within 2 seconds of being struck. AKA, you don't have to kill the target. They just have to die. And it doesn't have to be a player. It doesn't be anything special. Just hit them with the skill. If they die, you will heal for it. That is not uncommon for the Nightblades. Doing damage and getting heals. Another skill is called Reaper's Mark. You apply this to a target, and if the marked enemy dies, you are healed to full health, and then gain Major Berserk, increasing your damage done by 10%. Mind you, at one point there was 2 ways to get Major Berserk in the Nightblade class, and they took away one of them. This was not one of them, but the fact that I could just mark somebody, apply Major Breach, and then they just happen to fucking have a heart attack by whatever the reason is, die, and I get full health? That is insane, considering this is purely all offensive skill. This skill used to be free, by the way. You used to be able to just put this shit on for free, and then get the fucking the full health and everything. Like, it was insane. I don't think it was full health. It gave you a really strong burst too. It was like always over 20k. before you got into PvP, in which case it'd be like 15 to 20Ks. But like, let's be honest, if you just healed me for 15 to 20K health right then and there, while I could potentially have just hit Killer's Blade on top of that, I did just get full health. Like you're full health at that point. Like you're Gucci at that point. You got all the heals you need. You also got Merciless Resolve here. This gives you weapon damage as you light attack and heavy attack, because it's going to generate stacks for you. This gives you 60 weapon damage per stack, and it stacks up to 5 times. Once it gets to 5 stacks, you're then going to have your maximum stacks of 300 weapon damage. But then also, with the full stacks, you can activate the skill, and now it does damage. This is one of your strongest skills as a Nightblade. Both the Stam and Mag version is incredibly powerful, and you can run sets that then increase that by a significant number. And on top of all that, this heals you for 52% of the damage dealt if you're within melee range. So if you're just up in their fucking face and hit it, I'm healing for it. Keep in mind, right? You could have hit Killer's Blade. He could have been one shot, but you just didn't want to use your stam anymore, so you just shot him in the head with your Merciless Resolve. And now you're getting double heals from that. Oh, and I forgot, you could have had Reaper's Mark on him on top of that, which is incredibly overkill, but like, you're kind of starting to realize, like, okay, this kind of thing with just healing while doing damage. And that is not like, oh yeah, it's just only there. No, it is often like that. When you go to other skills, like for instance, siphoning attacks, when I light attack, I get heals from this. Yeah, this is not the only morph that heals you. There's another one that also does heals. This one also just restores mag and stam too. Which again, keep in mind, there was a whole passive that when you get kills, it restores mag and stam, but that's besides the point. And you have passives increasing your recovery by over 60% easily. You can push it to 90% over, but that's besides the point. It's the fact that I could just light attack and I get health. It's the fact that I could have swapped off power extraction, go to the mag version, and then heal for the damage dealt when I hit people. And it's based off of how many people's inside of it. I think it heals you for 100% based off of how many enemies are hit, which is a lot. Like, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but the fact that I could heal that way is stupid. Because I could have light attack healed that way with siphoning attacks. That's 2 skills healing me. Strife, if I morph this, right, it heals you. You see it, like, this skill heals. It heals. Like, you have so many things that just heal as you deal damage. That is like, alright, now you're really, like, it should be really kicking in a lot of people's heads now. When you make a Nightblade, and you're saying it's hard for you to survive and it's hard for you to heal, at certain points you have to start asking yourself, are you running any of the skills to heal yourself? Because if we're going to start talking about heals now, Healthy Offering is one of the best burst heals in the game. This gives you minor mending, and it does an incredibly strong burst heal. Yes, it also removes 1,000 health from you every time you activate it, but if you really pay attention to how it operates, I have 12,000 right now. 12,000 is a very strong heal, right? Increase it by another 8%, good. You have high weapon damage, which you're definitely going to have as a Nightblade. That's great too, it's going to help out your healing. What's most important to realize is just take away that 1,000, I heal myself for 11k immediately. Just immediately, that's 11k. In terms of the other tooltips for burst heals, that is really, really great. And then on top of that, the fact that I'm getting minor mending from activating just this skill is really, really strong. I don't have to activate any other skills to get it. I could just activate the skill twice, get the incredibly strong burst heals, while also then light attack people, get healed from that. Hit power extraction afterwards, well, not power, sap essence afterwards, get heals from that. Go over to Killer's Blade, execute somebody, get heals from that. Oh, well, I previously put Reaper's Mark on the target, so I also heal from that too. And then somebody hit me hard, it hit me for 20k, so I expect hit them from 20k, and then heal for 10k of that. I'm constantly getting hit, and I'm constantly healing. And that's before we talk about other heals that you could be running, like Refreshing Path. this is incredibly strong because, like I said earlier, it does heal you and it does give you a lot of these recoveries. And by you running this, I have one hot on me. And then I have another fake little hot. This is really just like every time I light attack I get heals. Then I have a burst heal. Then I have situational heals like Sap Essence, Killer's Blade, Merciless Resolve, Reaper's Mark. You have so many ways to heal that's like, alright, maybe that's where it stops. You know, maybe that's where the Nightblades really start falling off, where they're just really good at doing this and that. But keep in mind, a lot of these soul tips are really high. Like, for skills, these are incredibly high. I don't have no stacks of Merciless. I don't even have my food buff on. That's funny. My food buff just ran out. Let me do that right now. Yes, I run Red Frofter. This is what gives me a lot of health in my recovery. Yep, same stats before. Still. Maybe, you know, the high damage is only in those skills. Like, nah, Concealed Weapon gets a lot of damage too. It even gets damage done for leaving stealth. That's all you gotta do. Just leave stealth. So go invisible, come out, increase the damage of this skill for 10 by 10% for 15 seconds. It also gives you minor expedition too. So in the shadows tree, if I need to run away, like I'm in a bad scenario where I need to move fast, I can run Refreshing Path and just have Concealed Weapon slotted on either of my bars. And now I'm finna be moving really, really fast within the class without trying too hard. And then if I get hit with a snare, I can just hit Phantasmal Escape, making sure I have major evasion so that I don't take as much damage from AoEs. That's 20% damage mitigation from AoEs. I gain snare immunity, and then on top of that, while the skill is active, every time I take damage, it reduces the cost of my roll dodge by 10%. And this can stack up to 100%. So I can get a free roll dodge. And say I didn't want to run siphoning attacks. I want to run the other morph, Leeching Strikes. You have another capacity similar to it, where every time that you light attack with that, you reduce the cost of how much health it needs to restore your mag and stam, because it will convert your health into mag and stam for you. I can reduce it down to 100%, like reduce by 100%. So again, where is the sustain issue? Where I'm having free roll dodges, I can have free mag and stam restored to me at any point. I have some of the highest mag and stam recovery access like possible for like recoveries. I have incredibly high max health, incredibly high max mag. And by the way, having high max mag affects your damage. And then you have skills like Power Extraction that gives you major brutality, major sorcery, and then minor courage. Minor courage is incredibly rare. Until the Arcanist came out, only Nightblades can give out minor courage to themselves for more weapon damage. So I can increase it by 20% and then get a 215 increase to my weapon and spell damage, while then getting Merciless Resolve to then give me another 300 weapon damage. But keep in mind, none of the passives were set up for me to get weapon damage. But like Nightblades are known for having absurd amount of weapon damage. So again, like when you start realizing how these builds are made and how things operate, okay, tell me this, right? Just a hypothetical question, right? Just ask yourself, it's rhetorical. What are Nightblades bad at? I really think about it. With these passives, what is stopping you? With these types of skills that you have access to, what is stopping you? Because you have some of the highest movement speed very quickly, while also having a get out of jail free card. You place this bitch down, and as long as you're within range, with no cost of activating the skill again, I could teleport to it. Well, maybe it's the cost of the skills, right? The skills cost a lot. Kinda. 4K is decent amount, but with all the passes that you have for recovery and ways that you can get your magicka back, you have to be playing really dumb to run out of resources. Versus for the DKs, is not even that. Everything costs a lot. Like if I want to do damage as a Nightblade, 2000 mag, that's not costly. 2400, that's not costly. Even look at this, like 2,000. That's not costly. I don't care about 2,000. Oh, this is almost 3,000 for my power extraction as a mag blade. That's kind of costly. 2,000 for execute, not really costly. So really on my friend bar, the only really costly skill is power extraction and shadowy disguise, and more so in the shadowy disguise part because that's 4,000 versus this is just 3,000. That's not really costly. Almost 4k mag, okay, yeah, that's decently costly. This costs health. That is costly because it's resources. Almost 3k, almost 4k mag. 3,000 stam. Doesn't cost anything. And this is a pretty common back bar where people will have susceptibility, but it's the fact that like, oh, I have a refreshing path, I have this skill. Those don't really cost too much. Like, you're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm so glad it costs 4,000. Like, you're not gonna trip too much about it, but at the same time, like 3,000, 4,000, one stam, one's mag, you ain't really tripping too much on it. This skill costing 4k mags, not really too bad. A lot of burst seals cost a decent amount. So at that point, I really only have 3 skills on both my bars that cost a significant amount of magicka. Whereas for stam wise, I technically only got 1 skill. Well, 2 skills because it costs basically the same. I got 2 skills that cost a decent amount of stam. That's it. Versus you go to your DK, coagulating blood is pushing like 4.5. I'm not even a breading to reduce the cost of mag. I'm not doing insane light armor to like really reduce the cost of mag. I'm not running sets to reduce the cost of mag. And yet, it's not really high. Versus if I was on my breading, if I wanted that burst heal, I'm gonna have to run cost reduction. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. There's so many things you have to do to make the skills relatively cheap. And then I don't have the passives that the Nightblades have for sustaining. I have damage, sure, but I don't have that sustain. I don't have it at all. So again, what are Nightblades bad at? You have some of the highest bursts in the game, both damage and heals. Because I didn't even talk about ultimates. Like, if you thought shit was crazy damage-wise, like, keep in mind, increase the damage that you take by 20% just for hitting you with the ultimate. The other morph of this applies Major Defile. And you might have noticed another thing too when it comes down to a lot of these skills that I'm showcasing. There's a lot of buffs associated with them. And there's rarely buffs that lap over each other. Like, Lotus Fan doesn't also apply Major Evasion. It doesn't do nothing like that. But it applies Minor Vulnerability. The other morph, Ambush, applies Minor Berserk and Minor Vulnerability. You know what's crazy? If you really stop and think about it, Reaper's Mark gives you another 10%. Get Major Berserk. So in the Nightblades, you can have Major Minor Berserk while then running Concealed Weapon and then having this skill deal 10% more damage whenever you activate it. So if this is your spammable, that's a 25% increase to your damage done against that target. And then hit Incapacitating Strike and increase it by 45%. So I can hit you I hit you 45% harder just within my class without doing any funny shit. No sets, no nothing, just right then and there. Is it as likely to find a scenario like that? No, not as likely. But at the same time, if we're worried about minor berserks or major berserks, it's not hard to get sets that give you major berserk. You got Sea Serpent, you got Saints and Seducers, you got Thrakier Strike. You got so many sets that can give you major berserk that it's like, okay, I'll just run a better skill on my back bar like Susceptibility, get that minor vulnerability, and do all that jazz and be fine. But the fact that I could do it within my own class and hit that type of damage is absurd. It's absurd. I'm just hitting you 45% harder, just immediately. Oh, but what if I wanted to heal myself, right? I wanted to heal people really well. Like, my entire team's finna die. Oh, well, I just activate Soul Siphon. This is Soul Tether, by the way. But Soul Siphon, what it does is, instead of doing any type of damage, it's just a pure heal. In terms of tooltips, it's very similar to Soul Tether for the burst heal. Afterwards, though, it then activates a hot for 4 seconds. That hot is pretty significant. I think it starts off at like 8-9k if you have my tooltip. Which is like, alright, you know, it's like a 2k each tick, more or less. Like, that's pretty decent. On top of then giving you major vitality. Every person that was caught inside that heal has major vitality. It still activates the synergy. Like, you can still then have the synergy over, so any person nearby, you just hit Soul Leech, and then it does damage to them. So I can heal, have somebody deal damage with the skill, and we're perfectly fine. Like, give you major vitality. If I had Healthy Offering hit beforehand and prepped, I increased it by another 8%, and then you're getting healed. Like, all your healing received is increased by 12%. I burst heal you, and I have a hot on you, while potentially having other hots as well, both within the class and outside the class, for healing you. Yes, there's not a lot of skills that do a lot of everything. Like, there's not a lot of skills that are just like constantly pumping out heals for other people. But the fact that I have a Healthy Offering and a Refreshing Path is honestly good enough. That's incredibly strong. That's incredibly strong. Nightblades right now, really the only thing that they're incapable of doing a lot of is dot pressure. They don't really have dots. But they have everything else. If you want buffs, come to the Nightblade. You want debuffs, come to the Nightblade. Oh, you don't want people to have weapon damage anymore? That's fine. Run Mass Hysteria, Major Cowardice. Oh, and then hit them with Power Extraction, Minor Cowardice. That's 600 weapon damage gone. 645 to be exact. 645 gone. You don't have it no more. You want to sustain well? Come to the Nightblades. You want to be hard to catch? Go to the Nightblades. Guess what you got? Shouty the fucking disguise. If you still want to live in stealth when you're fighting people, you can do that. You're not stopped. No one's telling you can't do it. Right? But at the same time, while you're running around doing this, at no point are you really forced to play a squish tune. At no point are you forced to, I must live in shadow in order to fight. I'm a rogue, I can't be seen, this, that, and other. No. That's not how Nightblades are right now. And it's very important for more people to realize this, so that ZeniMax can properly balance classes. Because if you don't understand that Nightblades aren't automatically just, they're the assassin, they must be super class Kennedy. If you don't understand that, and you don't really like emphasize that whenever you're talking about what's going on, whether it's on the forums or with the people that you're just chatting to in the game, you're affecting balance of the game, because they're going to assume that most of the community doesn't view it as it being strong. In fact, how many times have you heard your friend talk about how Nightblades need to be buffed? Nightblades are too difficult, make them easier. You could run so many different skill combinations, and the fact that they could work well in PvP is absurd, let alone PvE. I have so many ways of increasing my damage done, weapon damage, my survivability, like tankiness overall. Like, there are so many things that you can do as a Nightblade that you have to sit down and ask yourself, how is this a class that's supposed to have checks and balances? Because if you really stop and realize it, there is nothing a Nightblade cannot do. There's nothing. If you want heals, he got you. If you want damage, he got you. If you want a tank, he got you. If you want a hybrid, he can do all three. Mag stam does not matter. He can do it at a high level and he'll be able to sustain himself. If you want really funky stats that just have people scratching their heads, shoot. 40k health on a Nightblade for DPS is enough health to scratch anybody's fucking head that doesn't know what they're doing. Like, what the fuck is this? Why do you have so much health? How the fuck do you have so much health and so much resources, and you're a DPS and you're doing all the stuff that you're doing? It is simply because I know how Nightblades operate, and now you do too. If you don't know anything else about this video, you don't care about anything else in this video, you want a TLDR, just know this: Nightblades can do everything. That is their class identity. They are the most stereotyped and the most undervalued class in PvP. I mean undervalued in the sense of people don't know what they're doing with them a majority of the time. The people that understand what they're like, how the Nightblades are, those are the guys that you be looking around like, I can't even tell what class he is. because you're looking for telltale signs, and the signs are right in front of you. You may not know what concealed weapon looks like, but yeah, that was a concealed weapon that just scratched you. Oh, you didn't know what merciless was? Yeah, that was merciless. He didn't even hit you with incap because he didn't need to. You just died very quickly. He doesn't need to worry about it. He's not going invis because you can still have it, but he don't always need to go invis against everybody. Like, I've fought people and they've generally said like, I didn't know you was a Nightblade. I was just getting fucked up, and it's like, not everybody's gonna be super knowledgeable about the game. They just see they're dying. So again, like, this is like a wake up call for anybody that's really watching the video. Like, you do not want to force yourself into a stereotype when you're playing these classes, because Nightblades is the pinnacle of why you don't want to do that. Because the moment you start paying attention to what the Nightblades are capable of doing, you realize they're capable of doing everything. So if they're capable of doing everything at an incredibly high level too, I should say, then why is your particular build not capable of healing itself, is super squishy, has, you know, super situational damage, can't do this, can't do that, when you synergize with damn near anything that you could do in PvP? You synergize so well with it. If I want to run a bow, it doesn't matter that I'm running a bow front bar. It really doesn't matter. I can still run incapacitating strike. I can still run Shouty Disguise, so that when I hit Lethero and I'm super close up and I'm running, say, Vatishrine bow, I'm able to get up that close and hit them without them necessarily being able to hit me back as easily. I'm able to do things like that, but I can't heal myself, or the class is just really bad at doing this or that. Like, no, they're not bad at doing anything. They're not bad at doing anything. The only thing that they don't have a lot of is dots. And at that point, is that even a negative? Oh, I just don't have dots? Like, that's how low we had to go? Oh, they just don't have dots. Yeah, they don't really have a lot of dots. Like, your only dot that you have that you put on other people consistently is Crippling Glass, and the other morphs of it. Everything else doesn't put on dots. Like, this doesn't put on a dot. This is an ultimate. It does put on a dot, but like, let's be honest, not everybody's popping ultimates every 2 seconds to put a dot on somebody. They're popping ultimates to just kill somebody flat out. Lotus Fan puts a dot on, but like, not a lot of people run Lotus Fan or Ambush in the first place. And it's mostly because, like, if you're not a bomber, just no point in running it, just better skills. And yeah, this is another thing too. There are some skills that are just not as valid. But at the same time, if I really wanted to, I don't have to run Elemental Susceptibility. I could run Lotus Fan. I wouldn't, but I could. I could run Reaper's Mark. I wouldn't, but I could. There's a couple skills definitely like that for the Nightblade. But you also have so much variety that it doesn't matter. I could definitely run these skills and make them work. It doesn't really matter at all. But at this point, I'm just going back and forth on this. I'm really just beating a dead horse. But yeah, guys, definitely when it comes down to the Nightblade, do not sleep on them. I'll holla at y'all later.